Welcome to this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. I'm Kevin Jones from Democratic Services. The subcommittee today is made up of councillors James Giles, Jackie Davies and Yvonne Tracy. The first item of business is the appointment of a chair for the meeting. Can I ask members, subcommittee members, to nominate a chair for the meeting?
I'll nominate Councillor Jackie Davies. Thank you, Kevin.
Councillor Tracy, will you second that?
I will second that.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. You're in the chair.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This meeting is being broadcast live, recorded, and will be made available on the Council's YouTube channel. The agenda is available on the Council's website by following the links to Your Council and decision-making, consultations and surveys, and then committee agendas and minutes. The quorum for this meeting is 3 members and all will need to be present at all times. If any subcommittee member or the legal advisor loses connection, we will pause to allow them to rejoin as soon as possible. To reduce feedback, could everyone make sure they mute their microphone while not speaking? After the subcommittee has heard the submission, I will ask if members have any questions on the submission. Members can also indicate they wish to speak by using the chat function. Please do not use the chat function to ask questions of officers or members, and remember that all meeting participants on the video call will be able to see what has been written in the chat. Please also keep your mobile phones in silent mode or switched off during the meeting. So, to introduce ourselves, I am Councillor Jackie Davies, and I will now introduce the other participants. With us this morning, we have Councillor James Giles.
Good morning.
We have Councillor Yvonne Tracy.
Good morning.
Guy Bishop, who is our legal advisor.
Morning.
Binyak Day, the licensing officer.
Good morning.
We have Manuel Roca, for the agent for the applicant.
Yes.
And do I take it that's Mr. Giuseppe Borozzo with you from?
Yes.
Lovely, from Nova Caravella Limited, the applicant. And we also have a member of Democratic Services. So we come to our declarations of interest. Does any member of the subcommittee have a pecuniary interest? Sorry, have I?
Can we introduce, there's a third member there.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You are there. I couldn't see you on the film. So we also have with us Rosalina Borozzo from Nova Caravella. Is that right?
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to miss you out. Thank you. And thank you, Kevin. So declarations of interest. Does any member of the subcommittee have a pecuniary interest, non-registrable interest, or other registrable interest to declare in relation to the application today?
I do not, Chair.
No, I do not.
Thank you. And the minutes of the last meeting held on the 5th of March, can we confirm them as a correct record? I was there, so I think I can, yes.
If I may, Chair, I'll abstain on that item only because I was an other party to that licensing review. And so as I was someone who made a representation,
Of course.
I'll abstain on that item. I'm not doubting the accuracy, but I just don't think it's right to...
No, I understand, and that makes perfect sense. Thank you. I will sign them at a later date. To move to the procedure, the parties have already been notified of the usual procedures for licensing hearings as set out on pages 3 to 5 of the agenda. Paragraph 57 on page 4 of the agenda pack deals with notifications of decision following the subcommittee's deliberations. This will firstly be confirmed by email later today, and full details and reasons will follow within 5 working days. Are there any objections to proceeding on the basis of those procedures? Right, we have shakings of heads. So we come to the hearing itself. This is an application from Ristorante Sorrento, 379 Ewell Road, Surbiton, KT6 70E. It's an application for a variation of premises license under the Licensing Act of 2003. Please see Appendix A on page A1 of the agenda. So I'd like to ask Binny Day, the licensing officer, to introduce the report on the application. Thank you, Binny.
Thank you very much, Chair. This application for a variation of premises license relates to Ristorante Sorrento, 379 Ewell Road, Surbiton, KT6 7DE. The application was made on the 21st of January 2025 by Manuel Rocha of Rocha Consultancy on behalf of Nova Caravella Limited. The application seeks a variation to their existing premises license to add the provision of regulated entertainment in the form of indoor live and recorded music on Fridays and Saturdays from 1800 hours to midnight. Relevant pages of the application form are attached at Annex 1, and the existing license is attached as Annex 2. The current and proposed hours of operation are laid out in Annex 3. I confirm that the applicant has advertised the application by way of public notice displayed at the premises and in the local newspaper. The application has also been made available on the Council's website. I confirm that all responsible authorities received a copy of the application. No representations were received from responsible authorities. In accordance with the Council's licensing policy, 230 addresses were consulted in writing and informed that an application had been received. 3 valid representations were received from other persons. The representations make reference to matters that relate to the prevention of public nuisance and protection of children from harm licensing objectives. Copies of the representations are attached at Annex 4. Copies of all representations have been forwarded to the applicant and have been made available to the licensing subcommittee. A map showing the approximate location of the premises is attached as Annex 5, with photographs attached as Annex 6. In considering this report, the licensing subcommittee is required to take into account the Secretary of State's guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, the Council's Statement of Licensing Policy, and the licensing objectives. The Council's Statement of Licensing Policy includes guidelines on trading hours, and these guideline hours are shown in the tables contained within Annex 7. The Licensing Subcommittee is asked to determine the application having regard to the representations received and any evidence heard at the hearing in accordance with the options set out in paragraph 15 of the licensing reports. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Binny. Can I ask if the members, that's the councillors, have any questions for Binny?
I don't myself, Chair. Thank you.
No, thank you, Chair.
No, neither do I. Thank you. So now we come to the applicant's submission. I'd like to call on the applicant to give a summary of their application. Paragraph 47 on page 3 of the agenda pack deals with the length of time an applicant can speak. The applicant has up to 5 minutes to present their submission. Kevin will advise when you have 1 minute left and when your time is up. So over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. This application, so a little bit of history. The Sorrento is a family-run restaurant for the last 40 years. And we are in the community, there's no problems, no evidence of problems, so we run the business professionally. And the reason we apply for, we already have on Thursdays the extension of record music, entertainment until midnight. And the reason we apply for Fridays and Saturdays is to, don't mean we're going to have music all these 3 days until midnight, but give us a little bit more flexibility in terms of, because a few years ago, and I think this affects all the business are struggling for many reasons. And Fridays and Saturdays used to be a very good day, but at the moment, Fridays and Saturdays, sometimes we have a good Friday, but Saturday is already weak and it's not, they don't perform the same way in financial terms. So with the music, Fridays and Saturdays give us a little bit more flexibility. Don't mean that we're going to have the 3 days music, or don't mean that we finish at midnight. But sometimes if people want to stay and or listening music until 11:30, 11:15, at least we are not in the pressure to close at 11, to finish the music at 11 o'clock. We understand that we respect the neighbors. We understand some of the things maybe they say, maybe object, but some of the things don't make any sense. In a way, we don't feel these complaints are realistic, because people complain about kids playing in the 7th in our garden area. It's on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. So that is something that this is a family restaurant. We are not a pub or a disco or nightclub. So a family, we need to put everybody from medium age, children, supervised children, but we need to allow children to play and have fun. So if this restaurant is fantastic for a reception of a wedding or a birthday, or for families, we need to accommodate that. We cannot stop children to play, you know what I mean? Regarding other complaints, I think Rosalina can explain a little bit more, because we sent an email to Mr. Bini, explained our reasons regarding the complaints we have. I think they are not right. So Rosalina, you want to say a word?
So basically, going back to the ladies that made a complaint on a Saturday night, 7 p.m., saying that too much noise. As we said, it was a birthday party, and it was a private family party. And yes, there was children playing at 7 p.m. on a Saturday night in the garden. Yes, we did receive a complaint. The lady rang at that time saying she couldn't put her own child to sleep. I could not reach the phone at that time when she rang at 7 p.m. So she rang again about it was 9 o'clock, 20 past 9 in the evening, again saying it was far too much noise and she couldn't put her own child to bed, which I then explained and apologized that she had trouble putting the child to bed. However, it was Saturday night and it was just children laughing out loud, and there was no noise of music, for example. And the reason why we're here today is that we want to have the flexibility of having music Friday and Saturday if needed, because what happens is like Mr. Hosher was saying, that the business is very quiet at the moment, and we do have music until 11 o'clock. However, sometimes if we have that pressure, we have that stress, that 10 to 11, we have to ask the music to stop. So the reason for this application is to have the little bit of you know, the not having the stress to finish the music 11. If people stay until 11:15, 11:30, we all feel a little bit more relaxed. But I can reassure you that there is no disturbance of music itself. And then there is the other complaint of the other neighbor that says there is music coming out, there is noise every weekend. I wish there was noisy weekend, because that will mean that the business was good. However, Friday and Saturdays at the moment, they could be as bad as a Tuesday night. And I did ask the other neighbors that even before that neighbor, do you hear any music? And they say, we don't hear anything. And so I truly believe that these complaints, first of all, they're not noise related to music. And second of all, we do respect all neighbors, and we've been in the same community for 40 years, and we tend to have a good relationship with them. And we are here to respect everybody, and to respect the law, and to be accommodated as well. And we would like to have chance to progress in our business and to keep the business. I think that is the most realistic thing at the moment, is that we are struggling at the moment, and if we carry on like that, we don't know how long we can stay here. And so this is another, I think is our last resource, basically saying we're going to try to have music, to extend the music if needed. For example, if I have a private party and they say to me, we're going to have a DJ on a Saturday night, straight away I said, yes, you can have a DJ on a Saturday night. However, 10 to 11, everything has to stop, because that's the law. So they sort of look at me and say, well, you're not giving us too much flexibility. Of what about if you would reach 11 o'clock and everybody says, oh, just one more song. And I said, well, you have to ask one more song at 10:30 at night, 11 o'clock, everything has to stop. And so that's just a little bit of flexibility that I'm asking for, is to stay until 11:30, to stay at, and until 12 o'clock, as saying, then at 12 o'clock I can say everything finished, no noise, no stop everything. But 11 o'clock, people find that it's too early for a Friday night and a Saturday night. It is a weekend after all. So I'm just asking for that. I'm just asking to give us a chance to accommodate what the customers ask for, because, like I said, is our last chance to another push to keep the business at least for another year, because that's the reality at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your application. Members, councillors, do you have any questions for any of the applicants? Let's go to Councillor Giles first. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, I just want to check at the moment because once I was informed I was going to be on this subcommittee, I took a look at your website among other things, and it seems that on a Friday you already have an element of live music. One presumes at the moment that is done in a deregulated fashion under the Live Music Act 2012. Am I correct in thinking that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then with respect to the garden, if I may, because obviously we have to take account of the representations that have been received, and whilst I acknowledge that this variation application largely relates to the regulated provision of live and recorded music, I do have concerns, obviously, regarding the use of the garden, because it's something that's been raised. I mean, what is your current position on use of the garden? Is there a cut-off time? Is it open just as a matter of course, or is it only open for special occasions? Just explain to me a little bit more, if you would, about how that works at the moment in your restaurant.
So basically, we will not have, and we don't have, music in the garden. So that's absolutely nothing to do with the music, because we will not have music outside. The garden is here. It's always been here. It's been here for 40 years. We do have license to serve food outside in the garden. We can use the garden when it's a good weather and people like sitting outside. But we don't use the garden heavily, mainly because we don't have the request for it, you see. So, for example, last year, we didn't use the garden at all, because I cannot possibly have a table of 4 people sitting in front of the restaurant and then have another table at the back of the garden. We can't work like that. There's not enough staff to help. Also, there is not enough customers. I think that comes down to that. The garden is a massive fixture of the restaurant, but like I said, we don't use it for music. Families like coming in here to this restaurant because of the garden. The garden is there for the children to let off steam. For example, on Sundays, let's just have this Sunday gone. There was a children coming for lunch with their family. There's lots of birthday parties. The customers have this. They like the fact that if you have a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old child eating with them, once they finish eating, they can just let them go into the garden and run around while the adults have their food. And that's mainly why the garden is there for. That's basically some grown-ups like sitting outside for a drink, having a chat before, if it's a nice sunny day. But at the same time as the garden is a massive fixture to the restaurant, we don't have music in the garden, and we will not have music in the garden. I'm not sure if that's the question, really.
That's helpful to some extent. I mean, leave the music to one side for a moment. I mean,
Okay.
does the garden have a closure time?
We don't have a closure time at the moment. No, we don't have an open time for the garden. The garden is not being used to serve food, so the garden is just there. No, at the moment, I think the answer is that there is not a closure of the garden, but as well as there is not an opening of the garden. The garden is just there. I don't know.
Okay, but the garden is used when the restaurant is open. So one could reasonably say that the garden is open when the restaurant is open. If someone, for example, if
yes, correct,
came in, at any point while the restaurant is open, they could make use of the garden.
Yes, correct. Yes. So if someone comes in and said, "Can we pop into the garden, to sit down or have a chat?" Or say, yes. That's the answer. Sorry.
Look, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Tracy.
Thank you, Chair. Well, actually, Councillor Giles has more or less said my question, but because I was basically thinking, if you were to be granted a licence till midnight, Fridays and Saturdays, my concern is that if people were in the garden being a bit rowdy, say at 11:30, 11:45, is it practical to say, right, okay, we'll have music till midnight, but say after 11 o'clock, the garden's not in use? I mean, is that something that you would think would be practical, or is that a no-goer?
No, yes, of course. Yes. We are here, like I said before, to we are a big part of the community, and we want to make them happy. We want to be part of that. We want to have that good relationship with them. 100%.
Lovely.
We need them. We need them very, very much. We want them to come in with their children and have a good time and be happy and be comfortable.
That's lovely. Thank you.
Yes.
Can I just kind of carry on that point about maybe closing the garden a bit earlier? It's the garden that's really upset the neighbours, and not any talk about music. And I remember those days when putting a child to bed at 7 really felt quite late. It doesn't feel late for you on a Saturday night because you're thinking it's a restaurant and they're here playing. But if I was trying to put a child to bed in a flat next door with no outside space and there were kids running around outside, there's just no way it could happen. So what is the earliest that you'd be prepared to close the garden?
Well, I would say it's quite hard, isn't it? I think 11 o'clock was a good time for us. But then again, I'm here for your advice. Basically, I would rather to stay with 11 o'clock at night, because 11 o'clock at night on a Friday night and a Saturday night, I do understand that. It's very hard for a parent with young children. However, at the same time, I also realized that those flats, I'm not saying this as a fact because I do not know, but most those flats are rented premises. And it would be unfair on us if we put a cutout of the garden much earlier and then find out that those people who are there have moved on, and we will be stuck with not being able to use the garden. So I would love it for you to agree to 11 o'clock cutoff for the garden, but if we have to go earlier than that, like 10:30 or 10 o'clock, then obviously we will have to agree with your what you decide.
Yeah, because if I remember rightly, it wasn't just children; it was just general noise from the garden as well. And I suppose children probably leave. Do children leave earlier than 11 and go home?
Well, to be fair, is actually, I'm so glad you pointed that out as well, as that was the only party in 40 years that we had that had teenagers on a Saturday night. That was the one night only. We never had, previous to that, a party on a Saturday night that had children playing outside. It's not a regular fixture, you know. It never happened before, and I do not know when will it happen next.
Okay, so that's just very bad timing, really.
It was the worst. It was the worst timing ever. It was a one-off, 100%.
Okay.
It never happened before in 40 years.
And if there are children running around outside, or teenagers or whatever, what can you do to get them in or make them behave? You know, what measures do you have? Who do you
So basically like I did last time, you know. So last time what I did, I went to the person that was having the party, sort of the main person that booked the party, and I did say, can you please bring all the children in now, because we have neighbors that are complaining about the noise, which they did. Like, I've got my notes in here, and when I spoke to the lady it was 9:24 when I spoke to the lady on the phone, and I did say to them, I did say to the lady, I will go in and I will talk to the parents, to the person organizing the party, which I did. And at that time, most of the party already gone home. At 9:30, they all started to leave. So more or less, the party finished 10 o'clock was the maximum time that the last ones had left. But at that time, most of them left already, and that's it. They were really good, and the children all came in, and they sat inside rather than sitting outside.
Okay, thank you. No more questions from me. So I think we're ready to move on now. So we move to responsible authorities. As set out in the report, all responsible authorities received a copy of the application. No representations were received from the responsible authorities. And as set out in the report, we come to other persons. In accordance with the Council's licensing policy, policy 230 addresses, sorry, completely misread that. I'll start again. As set out in the report, in accordance with the Council's licensing policy, 230 addresses were consulted in writing and informed that an application had been received. 3 valid representations were received from other persons. The representations, I think Vinny said all this anyway, but I have to say it again. The representations make reference to matters that relate to prevention of public nuisance and protection of children from harm licensing objectives, and they are found in Annex 4. Additionally, one of the residents who submitted a valid representation in relation to the above application contacted the Council's Democratic Services Department to confirm that they would not be able to attend the hearing, and submitted an additional statement which was passed to the applicant and to the members of the licensing subcommittee. No other persons registered to speak. All of their written submissions will be taken into consideration by the subcommittee, and I think we've already covered most of, well, all of that information already. So now it's time to close the meeting. And before we do that, would the applicant like to make any closing statement?
I think that most of the things were covered. The only thing I'd like to add is, and because I live in the area, and I've been dealing with alcohol license for 20 years now. And I think it's a problem that all the restaurants or business who have a garden on the borough, to make sure everybody is happy, is define measures to protect the noise nuisance, the neighbors, and change, and maybe make sure we have a policy that covers everybody. 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock for using the gardens, because I know there is other business like pubs, and as soon as they start to open when the summer is better and they start to use the garden, even at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, the council receive a few copies of representations or complaints about noise nuisance, because people are not used to the noise of kids playing in the garden, even at 3 o'clock of the afternoon. So it's something that the subcommittees and they need to decide what is fair for us, what is fair, they apply for everybody. And I think for the experience I have, the subcommittee and the license committee for Kingston is a very fair. I don't have any complaints, and I think it's fair for everybody. So it's up to you. This is very important for us to keep the business running. All the business struggling. We need to, when we can make a little bit of extra money, we need all this help. We employ a lot of people here and families. They depend of our management, and this will be a good helpful. Of course, signage, talking with the people who organize the parties about shields, about the use. The hours going to be written and going to put on signage outside. So all these kind of measures we can work out. And but Rosalina already and Giuseppe's already explained a few. They do, and that's it. So basically, there's not too much things to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the subcommittee will now withdraw and make its decision. The decision will be confirmed to all parties by email, and the full decision notice with reasons will then be sent to all parties within 5 working days. I'd like to thank everyone for coming and ask the subcommittee members to reconvene as soon as they can, I think, really. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.